Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for attending another session of Chief Architect Training. Today, we're going to be covering cabinets and kitchen layouts and whatnot. My name is Drew, for those of you that don't know. And again, always feel free to email or call me with any questions that you may have about how to do something. Okay, so let's get started. I want to start by going over the basics of the cabinets, basically the defaults. If I double click on the cabinet symbol, you can see I get the default settings, and I can change the defaults for the general. Just lets me change the minimum cabinet width. Pretty much want to leave all this the same. Pretty much don't want to mess with that. You can, if you know from the get-go, if you're drawing a house from scratch, or even if you have a house that's already drawn, if you know what kind of door cabinets they want to use throughout the entire house, you can change them here. But beware that it's going to change all cabinets in the plan. So if you want a different style in the bathroom versus the kitchen, you may want to go ahead and change them all individually. It's entirely up to you. But as you can see, by default, in other words, if I click a base cabinet, it gives me a 24-inch cabinet. Well, I know that because under my default settings, it's telling me by default it's going to put a 36-inch high, 24-inch wide, and 24-inch deep, which is exactly what it put in right there. I can also set things like the countertops, the backsplashes. Right now it's 4. I could change that to 6, but again, it would change it everywhere. I'm really not going to spend a whole lot of time on the defaults, just for the simple fact that it's all pretty much self-explanatory, and the majority of the stuff you're not really gonna touch or use, with the exception of maybe backsplash height, the door style, maybe the hardware, which is the under the door and drawer tab. You know, there's your knob and your pull. Size and backs, we will go over that for beadboard. Accessories, don't really mess with that too much unless you want to have a fancy furniture style cabinet that has feet on it. Maybe you can change that there. Moldings, we will add moldings for cove molding. Layer, pretty much going to stay on the default layer. Fill style, that's all. Not going to mess with that. And under materials, now this is the default material again. Again, we are in the base cabinet default, so any cabinet you put in will have these default, or will have these properties. In other words, if you want to change the countertop right away, you can change it here. So what I mean by all that, let me go ahead and demonstrate that a second. Get rid of that cabinet. Here I have 2 kitchens laid out. This is the real similar to the York kitchen, and it was the York show house. And this is just a simple kitchen that I just drew up. It's not out of any plan. Going to do my camera shot. And you can see I have all my appliances in. I have my raised bar. I'll show you how to do that with the raised countertop. But getting back to what I was saying about the defaults, let's say I want to change all my overheads. Well, if I click on my cabinet tool, and if I double click on my wall cabinet, that'll bring up my wall cabinet defaults. Now that's exactly the same as going to tools for default settings, clicking on wall cabinet and going to edit. Brings up the same dialog box. It's just a different way to get there. Let's say I wanted, instead of the raised panel for the door, let's go to the browse to the library, and let's open this window up a little bit. I'll go to the user library so we can get to X4, and under cabinet styles, maybe we want the arch. So we'll say OK, OK, and done. Now you can see just that simple, it changed every single wall cabinet. It didn't do anything with the base, and it didn't do anything with the tall cabinets, because when I picked this, I picked wall cabinet. Okay, so now this is fine. You can do it this way, but beware that it will change every cabinet every wall cabinet in your house. So maybe it's easier to change the kitchen, and then maybe in the utility, if there's some wall cabinets, you can just change those individually. Either or. Okay, so let me show you. That's pretty much what the defaults do. Again, if I double click on my base cabinet, I can go in here and I can do the same thing with this door. You see, it's a recessed panel as default. Let's say I don't want to do that with that message. I want to use my library. Well, I will open up the library browser. We go to the user library, X4, cabinets, styles, and we'll use the same style. I'm going to double click this so it closes my window down, and now we go through and pick all the individual doors. Okay, so that's two different ways of doing things. Again, we'll change the pantry, and let's rotate around. And I had two doors right here that I couldn't see. Change those last two doors. Now you don't want to change the drawers, because the drawers are never going to change. They're always going to be the same drawer style. Okay, so any questions on the how to change the defaults of the cabinets? I have a question here. Having trouble with audio. Can anyone else hear me? Hopefully, suppose apparently my microphone's working, so. Okay, Amy. Hopefully you have your audio resolved. I'm going to go ahead and continue since I don't see other people don't seem to be having an issue. Now again, you can see that this kitchen has crown molding on it. Getting back to the defaults here for a second, we can also go ahead and in our defaults add molding. You can see in the new templates, I went ahead and added crown molding to any wall cabinet that you insert. I figure that most people nowadays are getting the crown molding, and my theory was it's going to probably be a little easier to remove it than to add it. So if you have a particular kitchen that they don't want the crown molding, we can remove it all at once, and let me show you how to do that. If we get in cabinet mode and wall mode, we can hold shift and put a window around the kitchen, and it will just select the wall cabinet since I am in wall cabinet mode. I can then open it up. Under moldings, I can delete, and now they're all gone. Okay. To get rid of those. Yeah, they are gone. It's still showing up because I still have it on the pantry. So if we go to the pantry cabinet, delete it there, say OK, it should get rid of the rest. Yes. It was a hangover from the pantry, was extending it out over. So, any questions on the defaults? All right, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how I drew this kitchen. I'm not going to draw the entire kitchen. Most of it's all self-explanatory, but I will show you how to do this raised bar with the countertop, which is not against the wall for some reason. So let me open up a new plan. And that particular plan I had there was a 32 wide, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to 31.4. I'm going to grab my center wall, my mate wall, and I'm going to center it on the outside of the house. And I know I'm not showing my roof, but I'll just regenerate it anyways. Okay, in that plan I was using blind corner bases. So I'll go ahead and use my base. I just click on my cabinet tool, and by default it is a base cabinet. Go ahead and place it in, put it against the wall, and that was a 48-inch blind corner. Now, how do I get a blind corner? Well, if we put another cabinet against that blind corner, which would be a base filler, so if I go to my X4 library, I go to cabinets, go to base, kitchen, right here is my base filler. So I'll double click that to select it and close my browser or my library window down, bring it till it snaps against this wall, and just drag it against. Okay, you can see right there it says BCB48, and if I look, it'll just have one door. Let's say I want this door to swing the other way, which our blind corner cabinet bases do swing that way. If you're not concerned with showing the swing of the door, then that's fine, but if you are, here's how you want to do it. You'll double click the cabinet to open it up, so you have base cabinet specification. Click on the face of the cabinet here in your preview and change it to, I know it says right. Basically, the right means it's right hinge, and you can see here in the preview, here would be your hinge and here's your knob. So it's a right door, it's a right hinge door. So say OK, and what happened? I lost my blind corner. Well, that'll happen sometimes. All you need to do is double click on the filler again. You don't need to change anything in the preview. Just say OK, and it'll reestablish the blind corner. Okay, fairly simple. Let's go back. Next I had is my dishwasher. Now a dishwasher needs to go into a cabinet, so we'll put a 24-inch cabinet there. I'll come back to my library for my sink, and I had another 24-inch base, and then wrapping around was another blind corner. So I can go to the library, or I can also copy that filler again. Bump it against this cabinet and bring a base cabinet in, rotate it around, and I believe I had a 39-inch, it doesn't matter, 39, 42, whatever. We have a 39, a 42, a 45, and a 48. Now you can see I bumped it against there, but it didn't automatically make it a blind corner base. Excuse me. Again, double click on my filler, and there's my blind corner. I'm going to go ahead and I always like to include a B9. That's a nice little cabinet for kitchens. It's basically it's for pie pans and things like that, so you can stand them up instead of laying them down. And another one that's popular with people nowadays is the pots and pans drawer base. So we'll go ahead and put one of those in. Okay, so there I have the start of it. And again, I could change the swings of these the doors, but you know, you saw how to do that. You know how to do that. I'm not going to repeat the processes over and over because there are a lot of things I want to go over. And I'm not going to draw this run. It's pretty much the same. Well, I will do the range just so I can show you one thing. So let's put a drawer base in next to here. And I'm going to go ahead, even though my range is not in a cabinet, I'm going to put a cabinet in. I'm going to stretch it out to 30 just so I maintain my spacing. And then we'll put the another cabinet next to it. Now, let's put some wall cabinets in. And you see I'm not going to the library for hardly anything at all, except for these cabinets here like the drawer base, the filler, it's really not a lot you're going to go to the to the library for. And again, you wouldn't have to go to the library to do any of these, but you would have to modify the cabinets yourself. So basically the cabinets that are in the library are things that you have to modify a lot, not just change the size. Okay, so there's my, again, I always like to start in the corner also and work my way out. That way I establish my corner overhead, I establish my corner base, whether it be a blind corner or a RCB. Okay, continuing on, we have a 24 here, and here at Ritz-Craft we always pull this overhead 3 inches back from where the sink base is, just to leave room for trim at the window. A lot of times you don't need that room, a lot of times you do, so just to be safe we generally pull it back 3 inches. So I'll just go ahead and pull this entire cabinet back, and then we can put another overhead in. We'll do the same over here. I'll put my range hood in, or I'm sorry, my cabinet for my range hood or my microwave, whichever the case may be. So now I'm going to delete this. After I have my my spacings established, I'm going to delete that cabinet so I can put my range in. But first, I need to determine, am I going to have a range hood or a microwave? Most of the time, people get either appliance package or they put their appliances in themselves, and more often than not, they do put a microwave in. So I'm going to go ahead and do a microwave, and I want to show you a cross section of this. So I'm going to use my orthographic view tool. I'm going to use my wall elevation tool, and what that'll give me is it'll give me an elevation just of that wall, nothing else. I can modify this in 3D, or what I generally do is, we know or maybe some of you don't know, with 30-inch overheads, if you have a wall hood, it is, or a range hood, I'm sorry, it's going to be a 17-inch high cabinet. If you have a microwave, it's a 12-inch high cabinet. So as long as you know the height of the cabinet that you need, you'll be able to get it at the right height. So let's go ahead and change the height to 12. Okay. You can see what happens. It left the bottom where it was. So we always have to do a little math. I know my standard overhead is a 30-inch overhead, and it's 54 inches to the bottom, which gives me 30 and 54 is 84. So basically, when we have a pantry, it's an 84-inch high pantry. All the tops line up, and that's where that number comes from. So to get this one where we want, all we need to do is take 84 minus 12, which gives us 72, and there the tops of our cabinets line up. If they don't line up, you'll know, because your crown molding won't, it either won't show or it'll be offset a little bit. So now that we have that established, I can go ahead and go to my library, and we'll go to, there are no appliances in the Ritz-Craft library. They're all in the Chief libraries, and they're under Chief. They're under the core libraries, under architectural, under appliances. And we're going to use a microwave oven, and unfortunately, the only under cabinet one that they only have one. So it's a little limited in that aspect. These two here you have to actually put in a cabinet, and the other three actually sit on a countertop, which, if that's what they have in the kitchen, that's fine. But this is the one you want to use for the under a cabinet. So we'll double click that to select it and close the library, and I'll go ahead and put that in its place. And you can see it automatically snapped where it was supposed to go. And more importantly, as long as I put that in first, it puts it tight against the cabinet by default. Had I put my range in first and tried to put this in, it doesn't work, because it wants to put it over top of the range, and which means you have to put it out here. It's at a different height. Then you have to move it back. You have to raise it up. So it's just a lot easier to put the oven, either the range hood or the microwave, either or. Put that in first, and then put your range in. So we can go to range, standalone, standard, and you can pick probably one of these two electric or one of these two gases. I'll just go ahead and put the a standard electric in. And we'll bump it back. And you can see how it's tight against this cabinet, and it's not there. I like to center it, and I'll center it over the, you can see how it's centering it on the range hood and cabinet right now. So okay, doesn't look like it moved a lot, but there it is. Okay, so let's and the refrigerator is the same process. So I'm not going to do that again. What I want to demonstrate now is, before I do the raised bar, I want to show you how to do an extended bar. In this particular case, I'm going to select my very end cabinet, and I could come to my cabinet tool and go to custom countertop, and I could draw it in manually and then do my whole resize and everything. Or if I pick this cabinet, X4 has a nice version, a nice little tool now that says generate custom countertop. I pick that, and what it does is it'll put a custom countertop over top of the existing cabinet, and it'll also include my little overhangs. Okay, so what I need to do now is drag this against the wall. I'll select this edge, and our standard overhang is 10 inches. So I know I have an inch already because that's my default overhang, and that we got that. That comes from the base cabinet. If you have your countertop, your overhang is inch. That is by default. So again, having said that, I know I want a 10-inch overhang, so I need to add 9 inches to this. So I can pick my dimension, and that's 2'2", which is 24 plus 2, which is 26. So if I take 26 and add 9 to it, I get 35. Okay, so now if I measure this, there's my 10-inch overhang. Okay? Excuse me. Now you will see this little line here. It's not going to affect anything in the 3D view, but what it will do, if you go to put edging on, you'll have to put edging on here and then on all the cabinets. So what I like to do is, if I do have an overhang like this, I go ahead and pick the custom countertop, and I'm going to break. I'll use my break line tool and break this. Then I'll drag this corner all the way over to here. I'll go ahead and break it again, right here where the cabinet intersects, and drag it to the cabinet. Now all I need to do is bump that out an inch, pull that out an inch, and there is my entire my 10-inch overhang. It includes my backsplash. Okay? And again, the reason I did that, if I want to add a custom molding, say a bull nose or a ribbon edge or whatever, now when I come in here to moldings, let's say add new, go to my user library, my X4 library, my Ritz-Craft moldings, my countertop edging, and we'll just say beveled. Say OK and OK. So there, it put it on the entire countertop. Had I just had that custom countertop go straight back like it was, I would have had to select all these base cabinets and add that custom countertop edging also. Now again, here I didn't get it here, so in this case I would have to. I don't have a choice. Okay, and then we can just use our eyedropper to match the material. Okay, any questions on what I've covered so far? Okay, I have a question here. Are the staggered cabinets in the library? The staggered cabinets are not in the library. That is simply to get the staggered overheads. When I draw this second kitchen, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw this one. You can see this is staggered, and this is staggered, and this one also is staggered. I'll go ahead and I'll show you how to stagger them when I draw this one. Okay? So let's go back to our other plan. So that's how we do a custom overhang. Now to get the beveled edge on here, if I select one of the edges, it doesn't matter which one first, and down on my edit bar, double click or click twice on the chamfer tools on the toolbar, and here I could change it to a radius or a chamfer. By default we do a 2-inch chamfer, so I'll say chamfer 2, say OK, and pick the opposite edge, and I must have picked that one first, so we'll just pick the tool again, and there's our chamfer. Okay. Now that's how you do one with an overhang. Okay, I'm going to delete this now, and it'll put it automatically puts the countertop back on, so we don't have to do anything special there. What I do want to do though is I want to put a raised bar on here. So I will just use a regular wall, and I'm going to go ahead and bump it against the cabinets. And I'm going to pull it down so that it snaps to the end of the cabinet, into the run. Now I want to extend this past the cabinet a little bit. In general, rule of thumb is 2 to 3 inches. So as long as I have my start and end indicators on, you can see there's the E. And you can't see the top of it. I want to lengthen my wall 2 inches. So there's my start, there's my end. So if I lock my start, which is right there, and I change that 84 to 86, there I just extended my wall 2 inches. Secondly, I need to go to my orthographic view camera, go to my back clip cross section, start just inside the wall and drag it to just past. Doesn't matter which side you go. You can go from right to left or left to right or right to left. I want to pick my wall now, and you need to make sure that your wall is selected, not the room. Because if you pick the room, you're pulling the ceiling down. And you can tell that by right down here. It'll tell you, it says PD the polyline produced by 3D wall editor. If you happen to get the room instead, just click next, and it'll pick the wall. So we'll go ahead and pull this down, and now I can pick my temporary dimension, and our half walls are 43 inches high. So there's my raised wall. All I need to do now is put a countertop on top of it. So to do that, I am going to go to my cabinet tool, my base cabinet, and I'm going to go custom countertop. And I'm going to put it right on top of that wall. Get that corner, and it'll snap right to that corner. Now that countertop is the same size as that wall. Now I found a nifty little tool here. I know I want a 2-inch overhang with the exception of here. This toolbar right here, for those of you might not have this toolbar, if you don't, it is under Preferences, under Edit Behaviors. This toolbar right here are these commands right here. Okay, you see right now it's default. If I click on Concentric and say 2, you can see it changed. It changed from the default to the concentric. And if I double click, you can see it still says 2. What I can do is I can pick this countertop, make sure I have the countertop and not the wall. Excuse me, you can see I have the wall, so I want to hit next. Now it tells me I have the countertop. So if I grab the corner and I left click and pull, you can see it resizes it 2 inches incrementally. Okay, pretty neat. So what I want to do is just pull it once till it's done. Now I have my 2-inch established. Okay, now I want to make sure I go back to default, so I can pick it there, or since I already picked it, I can pick it there. I'll just pull this edge back to the wall because we don't want that going into the wall. And then this edge, I'll select this edge, and right now it's 8. We'll say 16. We can go ahead and put our chamfer on, and we already have the 2-inch. We already typed in the 2-inch, so it's still established. We'll pick it again, pick that edge, and there's our chamfer around. Now the last thing we need to do is right now it's at the countertop height, which is how it does it standard. It's not anything, you're not doing anything wrong. To change the height, just simply double click on it, go to the General tab, and under Set Height, we know our wall is at 43. Our countertop thickness is 1.5 inches. So if we make the top height 44.5, which is 43 plus 1.5 inches, say OK, and there's our raised bar. Any questions on that? Okay, we have a, this is a good question. Can the ribbon edge be wood? Absolutely. To do this, however, I'll go ahead and demonstrate how to do this. I'm going to get in base cabinet mode. So all I select is base cabinets. We'll go ahead, I'll start outside the kitchen. Doesn't matter where I'm at as long as I'm going to include all the cabinets. I'm going to hold Shift, left click drag, and put a window around the entire kitchen. Release, and now I have all my base cabinets selected. Now I can edit them all at once. We'll open them up for editing. Under the Moldings tab, I'm going to add new, User Library, X4, Ritz-Craft, Countertop Edging. Now you can see the ribbon has 2 parts. It has a bottom and a top. If you're trying to add the wood to the bevel, it's not going to work because any material you try to apply, it's going to apply it to the whole piece. Okay, this is just for, I think they offered that in Corian and Lamin, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But the ribbon, let's go ahead and add the top, say OK. And I want to add another piece of molding since we'll have 2 pieces. And by default, it just automatically took me back here. I'm going to add the bottom. And we'll say OK. Now, if you can see, you can't really see on the preview, but what's happening is it put the top and the top of the top piece of the ribbon here at the top of the countertop, and it also put the bottom piece at the top of the countertop. I know that this top piece is 3/8 inches tall, so on the bottom piece, I need to offset it 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to say 0.375, hit tab, and if you look real close you can see it did lower it. Let's say OK, and let's take a look. You can see there's our ribbon edge, and again I lost my blind corner base, so I'll just click on that filler. You can see there's my ribbon edge. Now I need to be fairly easy with this. Just grab my countertop material, make sure I have components selected, and select the very edge of that. And there is your ribbon edging. If you I'm not going to change the entire kitchen because it will change the edging also, but I want to show you that, let's say our kitchen was already oak, or whatever the case may be. By default, it would have gave you this material for your ribbon edging. Well, this ribbon edging you want to match the rest of the kitchen. So again, we're going to do the same thing we did with the other edge. We'll select our eyedropper, select our cabinet. Now, if you look right here, it says I'm painting cherry saddle to target carpet. That's because my cursor is over the carpet. If I come over here, it says granite charcoal, granite charcoal. If I bring it there till that finally says honey, I know I'm over that ribbon edge. I can say okay, and there it is. Okay, so it tells me what I picked up and what I'm going to paint to. Okay. Any questions on that so far? Okay, let's get over to the other kitchen before we run out of time, before I lose the attention span. Also, one little quick thing here. Right now, if I tried to label this a kitchen, it's going to label this whole area kitchen. To solve that, we'll go to our wall tool, use our invisible wall, just drag it off the edge of this wall to the marriage wall, and now I have a defined space that I can open this up. I can say kitchen, and there's my kitchen. Again, I don't have the reefer in the pantry, but that's okay. Let's go over here and draw the second kitchen, and this is where I'll demonstrate how to do the staggered cabinets, and they're pretty much the same, with the exception of they're taller and deeper. So I'm going to go ahead and in this corner I'm going to put a blind corner in, or a RCB, and if I drag my mouse far enough into the corner, it'll automatically switch it to a RCB. Now there's one in the library you can bring in also, either or. I generally just use this one. I'll go to the label and I'll change the label to RCB. So basically that's the same cabinet that's in the library. So whatever you prefer, if you want to go to the library and go to the kitchen and bring that cabinet in, it's the exact same thing. So whatever you find easier. Sometimes I find it easier just as I'm drawing along, just to draw it and make any little quick changes I need versus go to the library, go find it, bring it in, you know, either or. But I've been doing this for 7 years too, so I might find things that I find easy, some people might find easier to go to the library. So that's, again, that's entirely up to the individual. So let me go ahead and lay this out a little bit. I'm going to put a 9 here, and the next cabinet is a sink, and I'm just going to grab the standard one. And again, if you don't like this particular sink, you can pick the cabinet, click on the face of it, and make sure you have appliance selected. If you click up here near the top, if I click down farther, I get the door. There, I get the drawer. If I click too far, I'll get the backsplash. But it seems like it's getting the, or I'll get the countertop. So make sure you have appliance, and you can say delete. Then you can put in whatever sink you want and whatever faucet you want. Now, just be advised that the Chief, you know, is a great, wonderful, powerful tool, but there are, I mean, it is limited in some aspects. Just to show you, if I go to fixtures, sinks, kitchens, let's put an undermount one in, but I don't want a fixture. Let's go to undermount, and maybe we want a veggie bowl. And if I go back to fixtures again, I go to faucets, kitchen fixtures. You can see I'm pretty limited on the types of faucets that I can put in, that I can show. Okay, so I mean it's nice, but you know, again, they are limited. So I would center that on the sink, and I would also pull it away from the wall a little bit. Now, some sinks you can see how this faucet looks like it's gonna fall into the sink. To pull that sink forward, we double click on the cabinet, click on the face, right down here under appliance options, front offset, make that like 1.5 inches or or so, and you can see it pulled the sink forward, and now it gives you more area back here for your fixture to not fall into the sink. Okay, my next cabinet will be a base cabinet for my dishwasher. We'll go back to the library, and I want to go to the Ritz-Craft base kitchen. We'll use our dishwasher end panel. And here I want to demonstrate how to use reefer end panels, or not just necessarily reefer, but tall end panels and decorative panels. So my next is a reefer end panel. So under the tall section, I'll go to the kitchen, and since I'm going to have a bumped, if it was just a 30-inch high cabinet, it would be an 84. But since I'm going to have a bumped cabinet here, I'm bumping it up 6 inches, so we'll go with a 90. Move it over against, and you can always move this text around if they're over top of one another. Let's go back to the library. We'll go to the wall cabinet. This is going to be my reefer. And I'll go ahead and use the 3017. That's, oops. This particular one, don't try to put it in place right away. Put it in, because what happens is this basically is showing crown molding all the way around it. So you want to do is put it in, and you want to use the explode block. Now we can put a window around it. Bump it against the wall, and bump it against the reefer end panel. We can pick this end panel and copy it, and push it against. So there, normally our reefer cabinet is 12 inches. Well, we're bumping it up, so there we have the 17. Now, why didn't I bump it up 6 inches to an 18? Well, we don't have an 18-inch high cabinet. We have 12, 17, 21, 25, etc., or not 21, 25. So you have to know a little bit about the cabinets that we offer. The next is, at the very end of this run, I want an end panel. So if I go to my library, my cabinets, and decorative end panels, you can see there's really only a set amount of end panels. I mean, there's 1218, that is for a appliance garage. Then we have a 30 for a 30-inch overhead, 42 for a 42-inch overhead. The 24, 34 is for a base cabinet, and then we have our three tall fillers. So I know my reefer end panel is a 90, so my decorative end panel is also going to be a 90. Rotate this around. And bump it against. So let's see what we have so far. Okay, there's my base run. I didn't put my dishwasher in yet. There's my decorative end panel. And let's get the rest of the overheads in. In the corner here, I'm going to go ahead and put this in so I get a bumped or a corner cabinet. And I'm going to leave the bottom where it's at, but I'm going to raise it 6 inches. So I want to, or I'm going to take it up 36. So I have a corner 27, 36. Now, if you're dealing with 9-foot ceilings and 42-inch overheads, or, well, you can't really do a bump with 42-inch overheads. You have to go to 36 and then bump it up to 42. We also want to change it to 27. We do have a 24, but I like this one better because it has a larger front door. And then just grab the front and pull it out one click. And that is pretty much the 27-inch corner overhead. Okay, and once we put our cabinets in beside it, you'll see how it's bumped. So here, I'm going to put a wall overhead in. And now I said generally we keep our overheads back 3 inches. In this particular case, the York Show House, we did not, but what we did do is the window that we put over the sink, we made it a 24-inch wide window versus 28. But then to make it look a little bigger, we also moved it up or made it taller. I think it was a 30. It's a 3/8, so that's 44. Okay, so there's the 2038. That's the window we generally use in that York show house. Okay, so if we look here, there is our bumped corner, our bumped reefer. Now you can see our window is in our backsplash. Well, this particular house, we had to raise it so it didn't hit the backsplash. Okay, and also this particular cabinet is a 27-inch. Beware of this. It's showing a double door, but our 27-inch cabinets are a single door, so you have to change it to right door. Now, Jeep doesn't know that. It automatically assumes that once you go to 27, it's a double door. So just you have to be aware of that. Okay, let's move on the other way and get our range. Our next cabinet is, let's do a 12, and let's put a drawer base in. And this particular one is an 18. We'll go ahead and put our overheads in. And now for the range, I'm going to make that 30. Let's do a wall view. We want this to be bumped, but we also need it to be at the right height for the microwave. So we know before on the other side that our microwave, when we put the microwave in, our wall cabinet, let's go back over here, we had a 30-12 to go with the microwave. And let me see if I can pick it. There we go. See, we had 30 wide, 12 high, 72 inches from the bottom. Basically, when you're dealing with this, no matter what overhead you have, the microwave cabinet is either going to be 71, 72, or 73. And the height is either going to be, if it's bumped, it's either going to be 17 or 25, depending on what a wall overhead you're using and if you're using a range hood or a microwave. Okay, so if I know I want to keep this at 72, but I still want it bumped, if I come over here, I'll go ahead and put this at 72. I can see that that's going to be way too high. It's going to want to stick through the ceiling. So instead of making it a 12, like the other one was, we'll go one step higher and make it a 17. So there is our bumped height-wise, but if we look at it, it's still not the depth-wise. Now keep in mind that anytime you have staggered cabinets, this cabinet has to be deeper. Otherwise, you're crown molding, and you can see it right there. It's not going to have anywhere to stop, and it's not going to look very nice. So you also want to take it and make it deeper, and it's always 3 inches deeper on the regular wall. Okay. So just keep your bottom the same height as normal, and you should be okay, which was 72. So moving along, I'm going to try to pick up the pace here a little bit because I want to show you how to do the decorative tile and things. I'm just going to throw the rest of this in, and if I'm not saying much, that's why. Any questions so far? Can a backsplash eliminated? Can you eliminate the backsplash on one side of the RCB? Yes. I'm assuming you want that because on the other side it's maybe an open area. Let me go ahead and finish filling this in and I'll show you how to do that. You're going to have to draw some stuff manually, but yeah, you can. I want tall cabinets, I want kitchen, and this is going to be a 90-inch since our reefer was at 90, and it's a 36-inch cabinet. Now bear in mind that it doesn't come to the wall. It's because our Yorkshire house was a 30 wide, not a 31 wide. So go ahead and put base cabinets in. And he's pretty much lined up with the overheads. And our range in this particular house was a slide-in range. Now to do this, we have to put a cabinet in. You can then go to the appliances, go to the range section, slide in, and I'll just pick this gas. Pick the cabinet. It's kind of like putting a dishwasher in. Okay? It has to go in a cabinet. Even though you don't see the cabinet, it has to go in a cabinet. Okay, so there's our staggered. Now normally, if this wasn't staggered, these are 30-inch overheads. This would be an 84-inch pantry. Since we want a staggered pantry, we'll go to the next size up, which is 84, 90, 96. So we have to go to 90. Now, if you have 42-inch overheads, you can't do the staggered because we don't have anything taller than 96 inches. So basically, you'd have your pantry at 96 high, and then you'd make your wall overheads 36s so that you would still get the staggered look. Any questions on the staggered part of the overheads? Okay, let me go and answer that question about the RCB. I'm assuming that, let me go ahead and bring one in. Kitchen RCB. Well, there you don't have the backsplash. I'm not sure where or how you would want it, but if you only want it on one side, maybe you're having a wall here and it's putting one there by default. I'm not quite sure what your instance is, but all you need to do is open up this cabinet and under backsplash, just get rid of it. Okay? Now that'll get rid of it on both sides, no matter what's there. Now to get back the backsplash, you'll have to draw it in manually. So if we go back to our floor view, go to our back clip cross section, zoom in real good so you can see what's going on. And then we can use our primitive tools and our polyline solid. And I'm just going to draw it above it. And if you have 4-inch backsplash, we'll just change it to 4. We'll bring it down. It should bump to the top of it. If it doesn't, it's okay. We can adjust it. We know our overhead or our base cabinet is at 36 inches high, but it's also adjusting for the height of the floor covering. So it's probably 36 and 5/8. So if we pick this, let's go into the floor. Let's say 36. And I did that wrong because see what it did? It stretched my polyline. If I undo that, let's pick it again, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. See, I'm going to type in 36. These two little things here, I have two different options, and I can either move the edges, which is what I did the first time, or I can move the entire object, which is what I wanted to do originally. So we'll say pick that, and then just click over anywhere, and there it moved my countertop backsplash down. Now I want to change the thickness, obviously, and it's probably 3/8. I forget what you can do is double click on your base cabinet, and for the backsplash, thickness is 3/4. So I'd want to make this 3/4 so it matches the rest of the backsplashes in the kitchen. And then we can just go to our floor plan and make it the correct length. I'll hit Tab. And Tab. We can then look at it, and all we need to do is match properties, pick up the countertop, and that is how you get a backsplash just on one side. If Chief is forcing a backsplash on here where you don't want it, just get rid of it by opening it up and making the height and thickness 0, and then drawing it in manually. Okay? All right, back to the any questions on that? No? Okay. I want to show everybody how to put in the decorative tiles. There is a material in here. If you look under countertops, backsplashes, I can apply this material to the backsplash. I don't want to do the object. I want to do component. But it's going to do every single tile. And more than likely, you're going to have, you know, every other one, every fourth one, whatever the case may be. So we need to put these in manually. It's not hard. It is a little, it can be time consuming depending on the size of your kitchen, but we can put them in by themselves or manually. What I'm going to do is select all the base cabinets. I want to open them up, and just the way I got rid of the backsplash on that RCB, I'm going to get rid of these also. So we'll say OK. Now my countertop does not have any black backsplashes. So what I need to do is I need to put these in manually. And I'm probably more likely I'm going to want to start at the range area, because that will be the focal point, and then go out from there. So we'll use our wall elevation camera, come to the library, and under this glass tile insert section, there's one that says symbols. There is a blank tile, which I'll need to use, and there also is the different color ones. I'll just go ahead and pick sage. Doesn't matter which color it is. What I need to do, bump it down against the countertop, and bump it down against the countertop. I kind of need to figure out. This is kind of like that game we played as kids that had those little squares and it had the picture all jumbled up, and you had to rearrange the little square tiles in the plastic game to make the picture look like a picture. This is kind of what you'll do here. You need to figure out what kind of pattern you want, or you need to, I guess you need to, if you're just doing it across the top, decide, do I want this decorative piece, do I want 2 of them over the stove, or do I just want one in the center and then on the outside? So you have to put a little thought ahead into it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this wall, and to establish the edge of my cabinets, I'm going to move it in my plan view, and you can see it snapped behind the drywall. It snapped to the edge of the cabinet, but it snapped behind the drywall. So we'll just pick it and bring it back out, and there it snapped to the edge of the cabinet, which is where I want it. Now we'll come in here, and let's say I want them 2 over here. I'm going to put 2 of these over top of the range. So I'm just going to pick this, copy, and move it over, and it'll snap right to the edge of that. Now I can grab this one and bump it against. And I usually go every third tile, but here over the stove, I'm going to do it so that I have two mosaics over the range, and they look like they're supposed to be that way. I'll go ahead and do that. And you see what I mean? You can't just pick this and move it over. You need to move it up, drag it over, and then drag it down. And this is where I said it kind of reminds me of that little game we had as kids. Now I'll pick these two. I can do these both at once. Drag it over. Now from here on out, I'm gonna go every third tile is a mosaic tile. So I'll grab this, and I also want to copy one over here. So while I have that one up, I'll just go ahead and make another copy. Drag this over and down, and then do the same with this one. Now that I have my pattern established, I can go ahead and pick all three of these and move it over past, and then bump it back against. So you can see once you have your pattern established, it's not that difficult. Now this particular one, I'm going to have to make this one smaller. You're going to run into places where you don't have a full tile. Okay, so here we can do the same here. Oops. And I can just keep copying this down. Oops. I thought I hit copy again. Apparently I didn't. Okay, now we get that down so it was in the corner, but you get the idea of that. Okay, you can do this throughout the entire kitchen. You can put them up here above the range and have a nice little pattern. But if we look at this in 3D in the camera view now, you can see there's our tiles. Now this blank tile does not have material, so we need to assign that material. That's where you go to the library. You go to tile colors. We know our main tile was sage, so we'll use the same one. And I'm just going to do everything in the room because this material is concrete. If you look down here, you can tell it's concrete. So there's our decorative inlay tile backsplash. It can be a little time consuming, so I don't recommend going through this trouble unless you really absolutely want to show it to the customer. So any questions on that? Okay. Again, I try to keep these my webinars close to an hour, but I do have there's a couple things I wanted to go over, so I'll just try to do those here. One was islands. I started whenever we do a show house. I want to try to create those islands and put them in the library for you guys so that you don't have to draw them from scratch every time. This particular one was from the York show. Go ahead and put a doorway in here because if I don't, it's going to look like the island is sitting against the wall because that's a pretty big island. It's a nice island, but it's fairly large. Rotate it around. Oop, I rotated it around the wrong way. I know that because I want my opening on this side. So I would rotate it, get it in position where you want it first. or at least the direction, I should say, and then explode it. Now we can use our end-to-end dimension, and we can get it set the proper distance from the cabinets. Most of the time, these nice islands, they're usually 42. So I'll go ahead and I can select the whole thing, pick my dimension, and say 42. Now be aware that some states require 36 inches around the entire island, so you have to be careful. And that includes, if this range sticks out 6 inches, you have to include that 6 inches also. You need a 6-inch walkway, not countertop to countertop. It has to be the walkway. So if you had your range was sticking out here, you would need 36 inches between there. Okay, the reason I brought this one is this one's already done for you. You don't have to draw this all by hand. What you can do, if you want an island similar to this, but maybe it's a little different size, you can bring this in and just modify it. Okay, you can see there's the island legs. They are in the library under millwork. Under spindles, there's your base cabinet legs. Same thing that is. This beadboard. I used to draw this beadboard in by hand. It was real pain. Well, now, this is one thing I wanted to show you. With X4, you can add panels to cabinets, which is real useful, which is basically what I did here. If I open up this cabinet and I go to sides and backs, here I can add my panel. This would be the right side of the cabinet, so let's say right side. Let's say paneled, and I want to make sure it's full size, and we'll just use the default. Now, when I go to apply this beadboard, as long as I say component, oops, I had room selected. Select the beadboard, component. Voila! It just does that side of the cabinet. Oh, wait, something's wrong here. Sides and backs. Oh, for some reason it didn't take it. Paneled and full size. Okay, you can see how it bumped it out a little bit there. Now when we do the beadboard, there, it just applied it to the right side of the cabinet. Okay, on these particular cabinets, if you look, I did a panel, I did it on the back. On these cabinets, I did the panel all around because I wanted the beadboard on the side and the back so that because you're going to see it there. Okay, so that's how you can add beadboard to the cabinet. Now, it did not put it. See these cabinets, the back? The reason this one's not going to the floor is the toe kick. I thought it was the toe kick. Why? That should be going to the bottom of the cabinet. That's a real cabinet. For some reason it's not going down to the bottom. I thought when you checked full height that did it. Well, anyways, any questions on how to put beadboard on? No? So if we wanted to color this kitchen, let's use the oak saddle, say everything in the room, And then the beadboard, there's also a section in here for the beadboard that all the colors of the cabinets, I used oak saddle, so I would use oak saddle here. Okay. Any questions? Anything for me? Anything I didn't cover that maybe you want to see? Just briefly here, I did reorganize the library a little bit. If some of you that have downloaded X4 know, you can see I divided them up into like the tall cabinets. They're for the bath, closet organizers. I think some people might have been overwhelmed of what the callouts were and where the cabinet was for and what it was supposed to be. And so this way, hopefully this helps a little bit by dividing the cabinets up into different sections. You can say, okay, well, that's for in the utility, or these cabinets are for in the kitchen. These cabinets are, maybe you didn't know what a CD 2481 was. Well, what is that? Does that go? Is that in the library? Is that for entertainment cabinets? Is that So I tried to divide it up here so it maybe gets a little easier for people. And you see the entertainment centers. Entertainment cabinets. Also have the 2 new hearths in for the ones that have the built-in microwave underneath it. And everything else into the cabinets we pretty much went over. So I guess if nobody has any questions for me, I'm going to call today. And thanks again, everybody, for attending. And again, if you don't understand something I went over, or you just have a question with the plan, or you need help with the plan, don't be afraid to call or email me. Okay, well, everyone have a good day, and we'll see you next month.